Hey, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Cooley. Thank you for joining the webinar today. We will be getting started very shortly. I know that it's right at noon and people are still trying to get logged in. So let's wait 2 minutes to get started. Again, thank you for joining the webinar. Let's just wait 2 more minutes, get everybody a chance to jump in and log in. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Cooley. I'm the Targeted Outreach Director for the California Department of Financial Protection Innovation, also known as DFPI. Thank you for joining today's financial education webinar. Our topic today is the Practical Budget Workshop. I do this workshop actually quite a lot. Most times it's in person. This is actually one of the few times I do it virtually, but this is going to be a great webinar. Let's jump right into it. There's a lot of content to go over. I want to give you plenty of time to go through your own budget as well. So here's a little bit of a housekeeping slide I got to go through. This webinar is being recorded and it will be published to the DFPI's YouTube channel. Your cameras and microphones have been turned off. And at the end of this webinar, I will follow up. I'll send you a follow-up email. It'll have a copy of the slides as well as a link to the YouTube recording. So look out for that. The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the presenter. They do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the DFPI. And this presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. This is not financial or legal advice. And the DFPI does not assume responsibility for the completeness of the information presented in this presentation. If you do have a question, I do have a dedicated about 10, I want to hopefully 15 minutes, but at least 10 minutes at the very end of this webinar. So please submit your questions through the Zoom's Q&A feature. I will try to answer as many questions as I can. I did get a couple of questions through the registration process, so I'll answer some of those as well. Okay, let's jump right into it. Talk about the DFPI. Who are we? What do we do? What is our role? The DFPI is California's financial regulator. Our central purpose is to maintain a fair, healthy, and trusted financial marketplace for all Californians. We do this by regulating a number of financial services products and professionals in the state of California. And we also provide free presentations in person, virtually, all throughout California to help inform and protect consumers from frauds and scams. For more information, we do have a dedicated section on our website. The link to it is dfpi.ca.gov/consumers. That's where we publish our news articles, consumer alerts, a list of different events that we're doing. So please check that out. All right. So I'm going to quickly just kind of run through the agendas, kind of set expectations for this workshop. We're going to talk a little bit about the importance of financial literacy, and then we're going to be talking just quickly about what is budgeting and why is it important. Then we'll do the whole actual budgeting walkthrough. I have an Excel spreadsheet which you can download and input your own information. You'll see some sample data that I put in, and then we'll talk about it. We'll do some exercises. We'll talk about building an emergency fund, and we have we have one really good slide talking about the psychology of budgeting and spending. We'll talk about some common reasons why people stop budgeting, and then we have our Q&A session. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about the importance of financial literacy, and I do this quite often. I just want to, especially To individuals who are just not very aware of how important financial literacy is. It's a valuable life skill, and it enables individuals to make smart financial decisions. It also helps you understand the complexities of the financial world. How does financial literacy help you? Well, the probably one of the biggest things is it helps you understand key financial terms, some jargon, right, and some topics. It also empowers you to take control of your finances if you better understand those financial terms and concepts and topics. And it also helps you avoid financial frauds and scams, right? Especially, again, finances can be incredibly complex and confusing, but if you understand those terminologies and the topics, it can help you avoid those frauds and scams. So this is something that we've developed, and we call it the Financial Capability Roadmap, and think of it as a map, right? One of the things that we like to ask, and in fact, I do this all the time when I do my budget workshop, is be honest, right? Where are you on this roadmap? Are you financially stable? Are you financially insecure? Are you financially dependent, right? Maybe you are financially secure. And once you determine where you are, now you could find out where you want to be, right? And oftentimes when people don't understand where they are, it's harder to understand where they want to go, right? And here's some kind of definitions between all the different spectrums, right? I'm not going to dive too deep onto this, right? This is more for you to understand. And again, it's very broad strokes and very kind of wide definitions, and you can make these definitions your own, right? What is financially stable for you could be different from someone else, right? But the most important thing to understand, right? This is economic mobility right here, is knowing and using financial literacy topics, terms, and concepts can take you from over here on this side of the spectrum and move you to here, right? And it could just be one or two topics, right? I've actually known individuals who start budgeting, right? They are financially insecure, and they start budgeting, and it takes them to being stable, financially stable, and then it moves them to being financially secure. And it was just budgeting, understanding how to manage their money, and how to save and build emergency funds and that kind of thing, to go from being financially insecure to being secure. Budgeting is not, and this is the other thing, I like a full disclaimer, budgeting is not a silver bullet, right? It's not going to solve all your financial problems, but it is something that you can do to help control and to help yourself, right? And then there's so many other financial literacy topics, things like managing debt, building credit, retirement planning, investing, buying a home, tons of different financial literacy topics, again, to get you to go from this side of the spectrum to this side of the spectrum, right? So yeah, just want you to be aware of that. This is something we love to promote and talk about, and be honest with yourself, because you're here, you're making the time to be here, and I appreciate you for doing that. And I want to help you, again, go from any side of the spectrum to where you want to be. All right, let's talk about budgeting really quick. What is budgeting? Budgeting is goal setting. It's rare that I ever find someone who just loves budgeting for the actual work, right? I don't know anybody who actually enjoys going through the spreadsheets or using a budgeting app, or doing all the numbers, right? It's rare. I do know a few people who love doing the numbers, but most people are budgeting to achieve a financial goal. And so that's the purpose of budgeting. Budgeting is one of those critical financial skills. It helps build a healthy financial behaviors and habits. And that's one of the end goals that you're trying to do. You're trying to build those healthy financial behaviors and habits. If you have a spending issue, right? I've known some people with that, who have a hard time spending money or a hard time saving money. Budgeting is going to help you build those habits. It's going to help you earn gratification by achieving your budgeting goals. And also it's going to help you, especially if you write down your goals, it's going to help you achieve those goals, right? It's going to help you commit to those. So why budget? Again, number one, you kind of learn where your money goes. And this is one of the biggest comments I get when I do the workshop. I don't know where my money goes. I make this much amount of money, and at the end of the month, I don't have any money, or I'm short. And so the whole reason you budget is, hey, let's find out where your money really is going. Again, one of those goals is to create financial stability if you don't have it. You also want to build, again, we talked about building healthy saving and spending habits. You could prioritize spending, paying down debt, and saving or investing. Also set and meet those financial goals, prepare for emergencies, and it helps you manage your money. So lots of different reasons why to budget. People have all their other reasons. These are just a few to kind of help you get started. And I'm sure you're here right now because you have your own reasons. So I do want to ask a question again. Again, I do this in person a lot. I do a lot of these workshops, and I want a little bit of engagement. What are your top 3 financial goals, right? Please type it into the Zoom's chat if you are willing to. By the way, completely private. When you type in the chat, it should only go to me, and I'll be able to read your answers. I'm not going to name you at all. But one of the fascinating things that I love to learn about is when I do this budgeting workshop, depending on who I do the budget workshop with, sometimes I do it with high schoolers, sometimes I do it with individuals in a retirement home. The answers are always really fascinating. So here's some questions coming in. Thank you so much for throwing it in the chat. Buying a house, yes, that is one of the big goals. We got financial freedom. You want to start a business. That's good. That's good. Paying tuition. Very good. Thank you very much. Use money wisely. Prepare for emergencies and retirement. Yes. When I do this workshop with some working professionals, many times I see that I want to prepare for retirement, right? Individuals who are usually around 30, 40 years old. Sometimes one time I did it at a book club, and the biggest thing was to, yes, prepare for retirement. People were budgeting, but they were kind of loosey goosey doing it. So thank you very much. Let's read a couple more here. Enough money for insurance and covering insurance, medical debt, that kind of thing. Max 401k contribution. I like that. Very good. Pay off debt. Important. Getting most out of your paycheck. Financial literacy for myself and to my kids. Good. Very good. I love that. My oldest son is 6 years old, and we're teaching him all about money right now, and it always surprises me how much he retains. So thank you for sharing. What are your top 3 financial goals? You know what? I will share mine. Retirement is one thing for me, right? I am trying to maximize my retirements as well, as I see some of you. Pay down debt, definitely very important. And also, I've been slowly building my emergency fund, and I just need to put more money into it. So those are my top 3 financial goals. And thank you for sharing. All right, let's get going here. One of the DFPI's partners suggested that we do a breathing exercise right before we do our workshop. And it made a lot of sense to me. This is kind of the first time I'm going to do it. I know that finances can be very stressful. Very often when I do this workshop, some people kind of start getting a little bit of anxiety. So right before we jump in, let's do a quick breathing exercise. Here's just how it's going to work. First, we're going to just inhale for 4 seconds. Then we're going to hold breath for 4 seconds. Then we're going to exhale for 4 seconds. You're going to leave your lungs empty for 4 seconds, and then we're going to repeat it. And we're going to do this 3 times, okay? And again, the point of this is you're here, and you're probably here to learn more about how your finances are going. That might stress you out a little bit, especially if you have like a lot of debt or expenses. And let's just clear our minds, right? So let's get started. First thing, we're going to inhale for 4 seconds. Hold breath for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds. And then leave lungs empty for 4 seconds. Okay, let's repeat it one more time. Inhale for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold breath for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then hold those lungs empty for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do one more time. And again, the point of this is clear your mind. Let's do our finances with no emotional stress at all. One more time, inhale for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's hold the breath for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. And then hold lungs empty for 4 seconds and just clear our minds. All right. Again, thank you for our partner for this suggestion. I think it's great. It's a great way to just clear our minds, get started before we get started. And so with that, I have a budget worksheet. It's a spreadsheet. It's an Excel spreadsheet. But if you do have, Google Sheets or some other open, we call it other open source spreadsheet program, it should be able to open this file. It's a very standard file. I already have the file open and I'm going to share it with you. This is what it should look like. Here we go. All right, so it's called sample budget, and it's an Excel spreadsheet. There are two tabs. There's a sample and then there's a blank. All right. So on the sample, I have a lot of information already pre-populated, and I'll walk you through this. And then I have a blank one to give you a chance to fill this out yourself. Okay. Sorry, let me go back and put the link in the chat. I apologize. I probably just jumped too fast. So where is that? Share this screen. Sorry. Share screen. Here we go. Okay, so here's the link again. And I'm gonna type it in the chat so you can probably just link to it. HPS fpi.ca/budget worksheet. Okay. And when you go to that link, again, you should be able to just download the Excel spreadsheet and then open up from there. And you know what, I'm going to give you 1 more minute to download it, and then we'll get started. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, again, a reminder, please feel free to put it into the Q&A. I'm more than happy to answer it as soon as we get to the Q&A session. And there's also, you could also put it in the chat as well. Again, more than happy to talk to you in the chat. So about 30 seconds before we get started. And I do this workshop a lot. In the actual workshop, if people have computers, we use a spreadsheet. If not, I actually have a printout and people could just handwrite stuff in. Again, the point of it is I'm going to walk you through it and we're going to talk about it. And then we're going to try some scenarios to kind of help you out. So let's go ahead and do the walkthrough. Let me pull up the sheet right here. There we go. All right. So again, on the spreadsheet, you have one tab, which is called sample, and another one that's called blank. I want you know what, let's do the walkthrough first, and then I'm going to give you time to do the blank to fill your own information out. All right, so here we have 4 categories: income, we have our debts, we have our expenses, any kind of financial goals that you want to set, and then everything kind of calculates down. So I'm going to walk you through it. This is just sample information. It's not based on anything. Let's say I make 5, and by the way, this is a monthly budget. Some people have weekly, but this is my monthly. So let's just say I make $5,000 a month after taxes and all that. I sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I make about $100 a month, and then I have a side hustle. I don't know. I drive Uber, or maybe I deliver Amazon packages or something. So this is what I make per month, about $5,300. Then I have rent, I have a car loan, I have a student loan, I have a credit card, and any other debts you could put here. And the biggest question I get, one of the biggest questions I get is, what's the difference between a debt and an expense? A debt is something that you made a promise, right? Like student loan, car loan. Actually, rent should not be here. Oh my goodness, why is it here? Oh, you know what? Because it used to be mortgage. That's why. So if you have rent, it should actually go here, right? So if you have rent, it would go here. But the point being here is if you have a mortgage, it would go in debt because it's a promise to pay off. If you're renting, it would go right here, right? In fact, I'm gonna move it over here. Um, okay, so an expense is something that's just ongoing, right? There's no end to it unless I end it myself. So you need gas for transportation. You need I have life insurance for my dad, but you can also put this as car insurance. Internet, utilities, food you have to eat, and rent. And again, this is a monthly, right? So $200 in utilities, it's electricity, water, that kind of thing. Food is a $400 a month, so I'm calculating $100 a week, 4 times a week. That's about $400. Internet, and then I have an allowance for myself. In other words, money that I could just spend, right? Go to the movies, spend on lunch out or something like that. So I have my own allowance, and then here I have my. Oh, you know what? The calculations have changed. Why did the change? Oh, that's because it did not take that. There we go. So yeah, emergency fund. I have an emergency fund. I have a home down payment and investments. So here I could see it all come down, and $230 is the margin of error. In other words, I make $5,300, and my expenses calculate down, and this is what I have left. If I spend everything correctly, this is what I have left at the end of the month, right? Which I could move more into my investments, right? If I want to do $200 investments, right? Now I have 130 left, and maybe I want to add another $100 into my emergency fund, and maybe 530 for my home down payment. So as you see, I'll have no dollars left after out of my income. So that means I have no margin. So again, this is the walkthrough. The blank is right here. The next tab over, you can add rent here if you don't have a mortgage, right? So you could delete this and just add rent here. Now, the way I categorize this, and by the way, feel free right now, just feel free to start putting stuff into here. The way I categorize these is, or I guess order them, is in order of importance, right? So if I'm looking here, rent is absolutely important. If I don't have rent, I'm going to be homeless, right? I don't have a place to live. I absolutely need to eat. I have utilities, right, that I have to pay for, gas or transportation costs, right, to get to work. Then you need cell phone for communications, car insurance to drive, and then internet, right? If I had to, for whatever reason, let's say that I don't have a side hustle, right? Now I'm underneath by $300. And so I have to figure out, okay, where do I get $300 from? If I got to cut the internet out, then I'll do that, right? If I need to cut how much I'm paying in car insurance, which I wouldn't recommend, but you know what? There's not enough coverage that you're comfortable with. I could do that, right? And so the whole point of the spreadsheet, again, please feel free to fill it out with your own numbers. I'm going to continue talking, and throw. You don't have to be accurate. Also, by the way, I always do kind of rough numbers. And if I ever want to get accurate, it takes about an hour to go through all my bills to get like actual numbers. You could do that. And it takes time, like an hour, sometimes two. If you want to get a real accurate, go down to the dollar of where everything goes. But yeah, so let's say, what am I doing here? So I have $500 down payments. Let's do $100 for investments and a $200. So I'm still $30 short. So where can I cut $30? I could maybe do it in gas. I could do it in utilities to see how important it is. That cell phone bill is killing me at $100. You know what's really killing me, and this is not uncommon. I see this a lot when I look at other individuals' worksheets. Rent is killing people very often, and so I'm making $5,000 a month, and almost half of it goes directly to rent. And I've talked to individuals in these scenarios, and I always tell them, hey, consider getting a roommate. Or I don't know where you live and how much rent is, but consider downsizing if you can. because it makes a big difference, right? What if we went, well, we'll talk about some scenarios here. Um, but yeah, please fill out your blank sheet. And the other thing I would do is this: if you have a partner, right? Feel free to add them in here, right? I would say something like my work, and then uh, my partner work, right? And maybe they bring in another $5,000 a month, right? So this whole equation kind of changes. Everything will change because now you're gonna, rent is gonna stay the same, but you have someone else contributing, but the food's gonna double, right? Assuming they need to eat too, right? Utilities might stay the same, might go up a little bit. Gas is gonna probably double. Cell phone might double. Car insurance might double, and internet is probably gonna stay the same. But your allowance, right, giving each other money to use, might also double. So things might change a little bit. We'll play around with this scenario in a second. But again, I want to give you some time. Let's look right now, 12:26. I'm going to give you another 4 minutes to fill out your blank sheet, and then we're going to talk about it. But then we'll talk about it. We'll do some scenarios. Um, so yeah, calculate your income, sales, side hustle if you have it. I've done enough of these workshops where individuals have, what do you call it? Individuals do a lot of, I've seen individuals with something like $1,000 in sales, and their side hustle brings in something like $3,000, right? So they're bringing in a lot of money, but they're also doing a lot of work, and that gives them a lot more money at the end of the day to do things like pay down debts, or invest more, or put more money into a down payment, right? And again, these financial goals are your financial goals. Maybe you want to travel, right? Maybe you have a wedding coming up, right? And so again, this is all about achieving these financial goals at the end of the day, and allocating, right, dedicating money to it. Because very often when I see some of these, what do you call it? When I see some of these budget worksheets from other organizations, they forget to add these in, right? These financial goals, or they call it fun sometimes, but I'm like, I think you should lean more into those financial goals. Okay, 3 more minutes. Again, I want to give you all the time you need. And by the way, rough numbers. Throw in rough numbers. You don't need to be 100% accurate unless you want to. The point of it is, again, trying to understand where your money is going, and how much you're spending, right? And this is the thing, real world scenario, real world scenario. There was a time where my wife and I, our food was astronomical, right? It was something like it was like $1,000 a month on food, and we didn't know it at the time. Because unless you're tracking it, you don't see how much food you're eating. And it's not us, it was actually my wife and I. We were hosting a family Sundays at our house, and we were paying for all the food. And again, just looking at, we finally just sat down and did a budget, and we're like, wow, we're spending so much money on food. We don't actually eat that much. And once we figured it out, okay, why is this happening? And then you see, okay, every Sunday we're hosting family dinners, and it's too expensive. So then we do more of a potluck, or someone else takes over for this family Sunday meal. And it really helps us out, right? So again, the point of this is to understand why you have such high expenses or debts, and then formulate those strategies to not only, again, get out of debt, or cut down on expenses, right? And also help you figure out how to reach those financial goals. Okay, 1 more minute, and then we're going to talk about some scenarios, right? Throw in your income, calculate your debt, calculate your expenses. And this is the other thing, by the way. Let's say I'm gonna clear all this up. So what did I have here? Okay, so I'm gonna go 0 here, 0 here. Food was what, $400 a month, and so okay, good. You can see in this sample that a lot of my money goes to expenses. Like, I don't have that much debt, but I have a lot of expenses, right? Something like it's over half for sure. And most of that is just the rent. So again, this kind of gives you that idea of, hey, where's my money going? Is it going to pay debts? Sometimes people, I've seen people with something like, I pay $1,000 on my credit card, which is crazy. Um, but I've seen it. And so it helps you kind of understand where your money's going and make strategies, build strategies to overcome it. Okay, let's walk through some scenarios here. And by the way, again, if you do have questions, please feel free to put in the Q&A. Reduce your allowance. Yeah, yeah, I could reduce my allowance. Here, I'm negative $30. I should make it 570, and boom, I'm good, right? Got cut $30 on my own allowance. Rent and daycare take up 90% of my income. Oh my goodness. Yes, I'll talk about that in a minute. That's a great comment. Rent is crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I was a renter about half my life, so I totally understand the pain. Believe me, I understand the pain. And thank God for in-laws, because otherwise my wife and I would have to pay ridiculous daycare prices too. We've shopped, okay, and it's crazy. But let me talk about that in a minute. Family Sundays, yes. Okay, so let's do some scenarios. The first scenario I want you to do is let's my next slide here. The first scenario I want you to do is increase your income. All right. Let's say you make an extra $500 a month, right? You don't want, no. Let's do make math easy. Let's say you make another $1,000 a month. All right. So I go from making 5,000 a month to 6,000 a month, and let's not talk about how it happens or any of that. Maybe you want to do it as a side hustle, right? So keep this at 5,000. You want to do a side hustle for an extra 1,000. That's fine. The point of it is, I want you to increase your income by $1,000. Let's talk about where would you put that money, right? And this is part of the whole workshop, because many times this happens to many people. Individuals get promotions, or they decide to take on delivering Amazon packages or driving Uber or doing a side gig of some sort, right? Then they get this extra income. They're like, I don't know what to do with it, and they end up putting it here in their allowance. Oh, I make another $1,000 a month. I get to spend another $1,000, and I say, no. Try to think about putting that extra $1,000 to paying these debts off, right? Or maybe you could put more money here, right? So instead of, let's say, this 570 here, then let's do $1,500 here, right? Again, you're zeroing everything out, but look at this home down payment, because you're prioritizing it. I want to buy a house. I see how expensive, how much money I'm dumping into rent. I want to try to buy that house faster, and to do that, I'm doing my side hustle, right? So if you make an extra $1,000, like, where do you pour that money? And again, this is just a scenario, because it's what I want you to do is kind of open up the possibilities, right? Think about the opportunities that it will bring to you if you made an extra $1,000 a month. Normally, when I have a little more time and I do this in person, I say $500, and then we increase to 1,000. And again, what I'm trying to get people to understand, hey, if you had more money, what would you do with it, and where would you go? And again, some people, again, when I talk to students and I do this workshop, many of them are like, I would just spend the money, right? I have an extra $1,000. I can buy more clothes. I could go out with my friends more, and that's fine. There's students, many of them don't have financial obligations. But some things I like to point out is, hey, maybe you want to put it here, right? If you have a very high credit card debt, maybe you want to just pay that off. Maybe if you have student loans, knock that out, right? Because you do want to bring this down to zero if you can. Having margin is always good, but at the same time, you want to try to put money in your emergency fund or savings or some sort, right? If you can. Okay, so that's our first scenario. Let's give you another minute to kind of figure out where you want to put that money. I would put it, I have student loans, and I would put it here for sure. Uh, um, pay off my student loans. That would be great because the student loan situation is not that fun right now. Okay. Okay, let's talk about our second scenario. And by the way, you can reset this if you want. I'm gonna go ahead and reset it back. And let's talk about another scenario. Let's pay off a debt, right? Let's say, so here I have a car loan for $300. It's my biggest one. I'm going to zero that out. I'm going to say I just dumped all my money into any kind of savings I had. Maybe I don't know if I do that, but I just paid off my car. To me, again, I have a car loan right now. I took a big sigh, but it's more of a sigh of relief because I paid off my car loan and now I have an extra $300 a month. Where do I put that, right? Do I want to create a travel goal, right? I want to do some traveling this year. Maybe I want to increase my home down payment, right? Again, the point of this exercise is if you have this extra money because you paid off a car loan, right? Where do you put that extra money? Here, I put it in my home down payment because, again, this is my largest line item. It's almost half my paycheck a month, right? So yes, gonna give you one more minute paying off that loan. It doesn't have to be a car loan. If you have a student loan, if you have a credit card, any kind of debt that you have, right? Just pick one and then pay it off right now. Just zero it out, and then hey, if I don't have that debt anymore, where am I putting this money, right? Maybe, and that's a good, this is a good idea too. I pay this off. I have an extra 300. Maybe I work to pay this down, right? So now I'm paying $500 in my student loan, and I'm going to pay this off faster, right? And you can kind of snowball this. Once I pay this off, right now I have $500 a month, and let's do this. I have an extra $500. Let's just pay this off. So once I pay off my credit card, now I have $600 a month. So what am I going to do with this extra $600? Well, I could put it right here, right? That's $1,100 a month. I could put it into investments, right? Again, it's all about what do you prioritize? Where do you want to put your money? But here I just paid off all my debts. And again, this is all about thinking about what is your priorities and how do I reach my financial goals, right? Okay, so I'm gonna reset everything again, and this is just for me. You could reset your numbers if you want. I just want to get everything back to square zero, and we're gonna talk about. Let's see, we have good time. Okay, let's add another partner, right? And you might have done this already, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it, and we're gonna walk through. So let's talk about partner work, right? And they bring in $5,000 a month. Let's say they have, let me take a look at this. Okay, let's say they have a personal loan, and that is $500 a month. And they also have a car loan. And in fact, what I would do is what you can do is you can break this down, right? So you can say something like my car loan and partner car, right? And let's say they have a $300 car loan. Student loans is back to let's do the same thing. Let's keep doing this. So my student loan, partner student loan. This was definitely my scenario about 2 years ago. And let's just say one of us credit cards. So $200 in credit cards. All right. Rent stays the same. Food's going to double, right? We both need to eat. Utility is going to go up a little bit because there's two of us. Gas, we're going to double that. We have 2 cell phones now, but maybe there's economies of scale here. Car insurance, let's call it $150, and the internet stays the same, but allowance is going to double. So let's just say 1,200. So that's $600 each. And we still have a lot of money here, right? Let's say we have a wedding. We want to do a wedding. And let's say we do a home down payment and investments 500. We do like to travel. We'll call it 400, and we have a $20 margin. What am I missing here? Am I missing anything? That extra partner really brings in a lot, but they might have a lot of debt and expenses as well, right? Something that we don't know about. So there's a lot. The point of this exercise, right? Adding a partner, recalculating everything, is to show that having someone else help, but also taking on their debts and their expenses, those economies of scale can really, really add up, right? Can not just add up, but you can move things faster. Hey, let's pay off our loans, right? Look at this. We pay together, you and I, partner. We have $1,800 in debt that we pay every month, right? If we zeroed all of this out, that's $1,800, which we could throw to our home down payment. We could throw into like a wedding or savings or investments, right? This is $1,800 that we could do things with. We could move it into our financial goals. We could also cut down on, right? Let's commute together. So we could cut down on gas, right? Let's just say we pay $300. So this is the whole point of the budget spreadsheet. Again, helping you walk through this, see it all in one place and kind of understand it. I do this with my wife, and we have our financial goals written down, and we know exactly where our money's going to, right? If we want to go out and eat, we look at our financial goals and say, hey, are we on track? Are we behind? Are we ahead? Can we go out to eat tonight? I know it'd be nice. I know we're both tired from work. But is it okay if we just eat leftovers, right? Microwave some leftovers, and because we're a little bit low on our home down payment or other travel we want to make, right? And so it kind of helps motivate us to achieve these financial goals, especially if we're tracking our progress on our budget. So those are kind of the different tasks. Those are the different scenarios. We are at a little, we're kind of on track. I do want to go to our next question really quick here. So, let's see. Let's share the slides. I'm on the wrong slide right now. Sorry. Question 2. Share this slide. Okay. Back to the presentation. Question 2, and throw this in the chat if you're willing to share. How close are you to reaching your financial goals? And, again, on that budget sheet, you kind of list those financial goals. Some of you are just starting, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of you are kind of further along and you're getting closer. Here's some comments. Good. 50%. That's good. That's very good. That's really good. When you're halfway there, it only takes 1% to understand that you're on the what do you call it? You're on the downslope, right? The momentum is going to carry you very far. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I have student loans, and it feels like I am so far from paying that off. But I know that every month when I pay it, I'm getting closer and closer. I've also mortgage, and it is a big mortgage, and it feels like it's going to take forever to pay it off. But we budget, and when I talk to my wife, I'm like, this is the numbers. Look, this is the numbers. I'm not lying. And we're getting closer, right? Every day, every month, we're getting closer. Good question here. As for the moment, do you suggest buying a home? I like in California. You know what? When I do my home buying workshop, that's the number one question I get, which is, well, besides, can I buy a house? The biggest question I get is, when is the right time to buy a home? And, people try to time the market. They try to time interest rates. And this is the answer that I give everyone. And I think it makes absolute sense. You should buy a home when it is right for you, right? So if you have a stable career, if you have the right down payment saved, if you find the perfect home and you can afford it, right? I would, again, not financial advice, but I would not pay more. I would not have a mortgage that is more than 25% of what you bring in every month, right? So you and your partner, if you're buying a house together, no more than 25% of what you both bring in for your mortgage. And that's because many things happen. When you're a homeowner, so many things happen. AC goes out. You need to do some kind of repairs. There's some kind of family emergency, right? If you don't have an emergency fund established, you cannot pay. Like, I've seen individuals on their worksheets with like 50% budget. They're 50% mortgage, a mortgage that is taking 50% of their income. And you can look at your spreadsheets right now. That eats up so much, and you just can't do a lot, right? Hard to pay off debts. Hard, you got to keep those expenses low, and you can't do things like travel. I would say no more than 25%, 30% absolute max. Um, but yeah, this is a great question. And again, I always tell individuals, hey, when you feel right, when you have all the numbers set, when you are confident in your financial stability and situation, as well as have the money saved, it doesn't matter what the market looks like, right? It doesn't matter what the home prices are. It doesn't matter what the interest rates are. If you find the perfect home, you have the right down payment, and it makes sense in your budget, just buy it, and you're not going to regret it. Believe me, you're not going to regret it. Okay. And if you do regret it, just sell the house, right? Right? Just you were not happy with it. Okay, we're gonna keep going. So thank you for sharing. By the way, we did some workshop tasks. Let's talk about building emergency fund because it's so important, right? So how do you build emergency fund? You want to determine and set your emergency fund goal, right? So again, those financial goals. How much money do I need? Typically, you need 3 to 9 months of living costs plus expenses plus debt payments. So think of it like you're looking at your debts, and then you look at your expenses, combine those, and then multiply that by 3 to 9 months. And why 3 to 9 months? Well, it's because you need to be. Studies have shown that it would take 3 to 9 months for individuals to recover from an emergency, and so you kind of want at least 3 months. 9 months is kind of like the maximum. You could have it bigger if you want, but 9 is really all you need. And so here's some tips, right? You want to start small, build up over time. You want to automate your savings, cut out unnecessary expenses so you could put that money into your emergency fund. Use windfalls, right? Tax returns, bonuses, any kind of money gifts. People giving you money for birthdays, just take it through an emergency fund. That way you have it. Sell any unnecessary items you have. I have so much of that stuff. I have too much junk in my garage. And then always remember to replenish the funds after you use it. It always, it never fails that when you have one emergency happen, you then have a bunch of other ones that happen at the same time. And if you don't put money into that emergency fund, you're going to be using debt to try to meet that gap. So just a quick question here. Let's just take 1 minute. Again, feel free to share it in the chat. How much money do you need for your emergency fund? Again, that is like your expenses plus debts, right? So all those, what do you call it? Debts plus your expenses. And maybe you could pare it down, right? Maybe you're putting too much money into your car payment or too much money into your student loan payments. Cut it down to the bare minimum. If you, God forbid, if you had to change jobs or something happened medically, or maybe you need to travel across the country to take care of a sick family member for a couple months, right? This is what your emergency fund is for. I'll give you my number. I would say, so my wife and I, we are trying to save up $50,000 for our emergency fund. And why such a large number? Well, of course, my wife and I, and then of course we have 2 sons, and then I'm also taking care of my mom. So she lives with us, and I need a large emergency fund to kind of cover all of our living expenses. And for us, it's pretty expensive. But imagine if you had that extra 30, 50, $70,000 in your bank account for an emergency, right? Any kind of emergency. Tires, you get tire puncture, got to get new tires. You're not gonna sweat it. You're like, I have 50 grand sitting in the bank. Get new tires, right? I don't care. If the AC breaks down in your house, I have 50,000 in the bank. We'll just pay it off with the emergency fund, and we're okay. It doesn't disrupt your budget, right? It doesn't change anything. You have that money to help you instead of, oh my gosh, now I gotta put payments into my budget, or I gotta take out debt to pay for that, right? That's the whole point of emergency fund. Looking at some of your chats, 35,000, good. 45,000, good. That's about where I'm at. Okay, let's move on. I do want to leave enough time for the Q&A. Let's talk about the psychology of budgeting, and this is part of my other budget webinars that we do. These points have been helped developed for us by a financial psychologist. Budgeting is not, sometimes people get stuck on the word budget, right? When your friends say they want to go out and eat, and you say, oh, I can't, I'm on a budget, that might have a negative effect, right? So instead of saying you're on a budget, you could say that I'm on a spending plan, or even better, I'm on a savings plan. That kind of starts the conversation, right? Your friends, your coworkers would be like, oh, you're on a savings plan? What are you saving for? So you could talk about buying a house. You could talk about investing, saving for retirement, and your coworkers, especially if they're your friends, they'll understand, and more importantly, they'll probably help support you, right? Again, budgeting helps with building those, helps with impulsive spending, and also helps you build those healthy spending behaviors, saving behaviors. It can help you stop those credit card spending. This is the other important thing. Budgeting is not no or never, right? Sometimes people think that I'm on a budget, I can't do this ever. And that's not true. It's just not right now, right? So if your friends want to go to Vegas, they want to do a Vegas trip, and they want to do it this weekend, you might say, hey guys, I'm on a spending plan or savings plan. But if you guys want to do it next month, let me put it into my budget. And so I'll have it, then we could do it next month, right? So yeah, it's not no or never. Acknowledge, and again, you want to acknowledge and learn how to mitigate any kind of stress spending. Spending is something you control, absolutely, and that's what the budget is for. It also helps you understand external influences, right? So society, social acceptance, if you're thinking about buying a Tesla to be accepted or something like that. You also understand advertisements and how they affect you. For my wife and I, it was about our family, right? On Sunday dinners, they definitely those external influences that was affecting our spending. And then of course, any kind of peer pressure, peer comparing. And again, the whole point of that budget is, again, not just to help you set and achieve those financial goals, but also help you develop healthy spending and saving behaviors. I'm going to quickly go through this. Again, want to leave enough time to answer any kind of questions. And again, if you do have a question, please put in the Zoom Q&A. We'll answer this in a bit. So common reasons why people stop budgeting. Some people start too fast and they try to save too hard, right? So they sometimes try to do cold turkey. Maybe they are unable to develop good spending habits over time, and I'd say please stick with it. Some people will feel despair for not reaching or achieving those financial goals. Maybe you have those unrealistic goals. And again, the point being, you want to maybe have smaller goals. If you have that, I want to save $100,000 to buy a house, make it smaller, right? Let's start out just reaching $20,000, and then let's make it to $40,000, and you're slowly going to get there. So I see this a lot. People's budget go off track, or they don't budget correctly, right? Sometimes numbers are kind of wonky. They don't follow or update the budget. Here's another one: family, friends, partners not on board with your budget. That's a big one. I might do all the work to do the numbers, but your partner just doesn't agree with it. And so there's a lot of different reasons. I just want you to see these and understand what may affect you to stop budgeting. I want you to try to budget. Try for a month. In fact, one of my mentors was telling me that it takes about 90 days to establish a behavior. So if you just keep doing it for about 90 days, you'll just continue to budget. It'll be just kind of a normal thing for you. Here's some pro tips, right? Spend less than what you make, check your budget every week. to make sure you're on track. Share your finances, right? Especially with your partner. Um, Remember that so important. Each month is different. Every month is different. You have birthdays, you have events, holidays that happen. So keep those in mind when you do your budget. Make sure to throw those in there. Family dinner or holiday coming up or travel that's happening, right? Add those in. Um, you can budget on a monthly basis. That's what I do, and I update my budget every month. But you can also budget weekly, and I do have a friend that does it daily. He's a long haul driver, and it makes sense for him. And so a lot of different pro tips. Be content. Quit the comparisons. Right, your budget is for you. You're not trying to compare it with other people, and you are trying to achieve your financial dreams and goals. You're not trying to achieve someone else's financial dreams and goals. So be content, quit the comparisons. And yeah, you can create barriers to spending. This is one thing I will say. There was an individual, he had so many streaming accounts on his worksheet, on his budget worksheets. He had like Netflix and Hulu and Disney and all these. I'm like, why do you have so many streamings? He doesn't even watch it all. And I told him, after talking to him, I figured out he had shows that he liked. And I told him, hey, just subscribe for a month and binge watch all the shows and then wait till the next season comes, right? It'll save you so much money. So yeah, create those barriers to spending. And then finally, some ways to stay motivated. You are not alone. Okay, budgeting, trying to save money, trying to reach those financial goals. I live in California. It's not the cheapest place to live, but you can make it, right? And I believe in you, and you're not alone. I'm there with you. I am going to be your biggest cheerleader. I'm going to be your biggest motivator. I've been there as well. Don't let your money control you. You could definitely control your money, and that's what your budget can do. Help you control that money. You can achieve your financial goals. Your budget is your roadmap, right? How do I get from point A to point B? You need a map, and that's what your budget's for. And get rid of that financial anxiety, right? That budget is going to help you build confidence and get relief from that financial stress. All right, Q&A. One question so far. Feel free to throw more questions into the Zoom Q&A. I did have some questions come into the chat, so I'm going to answer these. What should I do first, pay off debt or build emergency fund? I would build an emergency fund. At least have something between $1,000 to $5,000. Start out with that. And again, the point of it is quick emergencies. You get a tire puncture, you got to get new tires. Something happens medically and you can't work for a couple of days. That's what the emergency fund is for, right? So I would build a small emergency fund first, and then I would pay down as much debt as I can while I slowly continue to build that emergency fund. Great question. Next question. This is more of outside this topic, but can DFPI expand its oversight to cover the use of AI by companies to exploit personally identifiable information to charge each customer their maximum paying price for goods and services? A recent Bloomberg article described how Delta Airlines is using Israeli companies' consulting services to do this. Extremely predatory. Okay, so I read this article too, by the way. And this is, by the way, outside the scope. This is outside the scope of this webinar. This webinar is about budgeting. It's about the things that we can control. And the only thing I could say is we know about it and we're monitoring it. And to be honest, talk to your state assembly members, state senators, and think about putting some kind of talk about it. This is a great point discussion, right? It is a great point of discussion. So thank you for the question. It's a great comment. But outside of the scope of this webinar. So thank you for submitting it. And you can stack CDs to make money on your emergency funds. Yes, having CDs mature periodically so you would have cash if you need it. So CD, certificate deposit, you can have a certificate, put your emergency fund into a certificate of deposit. The only thing I would caution to you, and this is a great question, this is a great point here, is if you need all of your money quickly. CD certificate deposits have a maturity date, and sometimes they have penalties if you try to cash it in too early. So be aware that I get the whole stacking. In other words, maybe have $5,000 CD that matures in 6 months, and then another one that matures in 3 months, that kind of thing. Hey, whatever works for you, right? I have my emergency fund in a high yield savings account. The only downside to that is it's an online account, and I can't go anywhere specifically to get my money out directly. That's kind of the slow thing, but it works for me. Whatever works for you is great. No questions. Thank you for the workshop. Thank you so much for being here. We are at 1 o'clock. I do want to just do a quick closing on the housekeeping, right? Subscribe to our newsletter if you haven't yet. This is probably where you heard about our workshops or this particular workshop. We do have a YouTube channel where this webinar will be published. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and you will get notified when this video gets uploaded. By the way, I will be following up with an email which has the slides, as well as, you know what? I'll include the Excel spreadsheet too. And a link to this webinar's recording. And finally, next month, we're going to be talking about in the financial education webinar, September 3rd at noon. Know your rights, get help with debt collection. We are going to have someone from the DFPI, our debt collection, because if you did not know, the DFPI license and regulates debt collectors. We're going to have one of our subject matter experts come talk about it. We are also going to have someone from Public Counsel, which is a nonprofit in Southern California. We're going to have her come on and talk about your rights in debt collection. Register for the webinar. With that, thank you so much for being here. I know you've got lots of places and things to go and do, and I do appreciate you being here. I really hope the webinar helped you out, the workshop, and please take care of yourself and each other. Thank you so much. Have a great day.